So what is this hidden danger of waiting until you're 65 until you retire? I mean, how bad can it be? That's when most of us retire, right? I wish that was the case, but I can tell you as a financial advisor for over 20 years, that's not the case. There really is a hidden danger, a gotcha, that unfortunately derails a lot of people's plans, and I don't want to see that happen to you. So let's jump in. The danger has to do with something called your healthy life expectancy. Super important that we know what that is. Few of us do. But the World Health Organization collects this data from all over the world and shares it with the broader community. It says, in your country, this is what your healthy life expectancy is. And it's complicated data, but thankfully there's a gentleman, Jeff Knobs, that put this in a very easy to understand format. So let's jump in and look at this chart that Jeff put together. So it talks about what age, on average, do people lose their health in various countries. So I wish the United States was the first row here because that's the best. Unfortunately, it's not. Japan is number one. And the age is 74.1. So the average Japanese person can expect to live to almost 75 before they have a serious health issue. Okay, next country. Is it the United States? Is it Canada? It's not. It's Singapore. So congratulations to people that live in Singapore. It's right around the same, 73.6 years. The next country, still not the United States. It's Korea, 73.1. The next country, Switzerland, 72.5. The next country, come on, it's got to be the US now, right? No, it's Cyprus, where it's 72.4. Next country is Israel, where it's also 72.4. Spain is the following country at 72.1. France is the next country at 72.1 years old. Iceland is 72. Italy is 71.9. Come on, the next country's got to be us. And hopefully it's like 71.8. Okay, the next country is the United States, but it's only 66.1. So this is what Jeff did. He took the data and showed where the US is versus everybody else. So it's only 66.1 years. So our healthy life expectancy is about 13 months after when the average American retires. We need to know this. We need to plan for this. And we need to ask ourselves, is this what we want? So this next chart, which is from Gallup, talks about when does the average American retire? And you can see here in this chart, 2016 to 2022 is the most recent. There's only 1% of us that retire 40 to 44. 45 to 49, there's another 2% that retire. 50 to 54, only 6% of all 50 to 54-year-olds are retired. And I think, boy, if you can make that happen, that's wonderful. But only 6% of people can. And many of those people retired involuntarily. I want people to retire because they've planned and they can, and they've chosen to do that. Okay, 55 to 59, only 11% of 55 to 59-year-olds. And that has gone from almost 20% as recently as 2007 to now just a tad over 10%. Then 60 to 64, it's 32%. That number used to be 41%. So we're retiring later and our health is getting worse. Okay, 65 to 69, almost a third of all Americans are not retired when they're 65 to 69. I think that's a really dangerous thing, particularly if you have dreams, you have hopes, you have things you want to do. We need to be conscious and deliberate about being ready to retire while we still have our health and while we still have enough youth and vitality that we can enjoy the fruits of 20, 30, 40 years of work. Let's keep going. 70 to 74. Only 17% of people are still working, and then 75 plus, believe it or not, still 12% of people are working. Okay, so what do we do? I don't know about you, but retiring at 65 and losing my health at 66 and having 13 carefree years of retirement, that is not what I want. Those are averages. It doesn't mean I'm going to lose my health at 66. It doesn't mean you're going to lose your health at 66, right? There's some things that we can do. Number one, what we can do is we can watch our health. We can invest in our health. As a financial advisor, helping people reach their financial goals is really important, but you know what? Your health is much more important than your wealth. So job number one is take care of your health. Invest the time, invest the effort, and invest the money to buy the right foods, to avoid the cheap fast food that's so easy and prevalent here in the United States. To avoid that, and invest the time, invest the effort, invest the money to cook good, healthy food, or to buy good, healthy food, to go to the gym, try to do something cardiovascular a couple times a week. And the third thing is just maintaining your muscle mass. It doesn't mean you have to want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but it does mean that, trying to maintain our muscle mass is a good thing. Number two, I want you to look at your finances and come up with a plan. I want you to think about that and say, what would it take? What would it take for us to retire at 55? And oftentimes it's not as big of a challenge as people think. The number one thing is to have a game plan, a reasonable game plan for how are you going to achieve your goals. So I tell people there's 3 secrets to building their wealth. And the first one is, I don't care how much money you earn, you have to spend less than you earn. Over half of all Americans making over $100,000 a year, over half of those folks don't save a dime. They don't save anything. Okay, great. It's great that you're earning a great salary, but you have to save, and it's not enough to save. You also have to invest. So that's rule number 1. Rule 2 is 1 house, and rule 3 is 1 spouse. And I say rule 2 and 3 kind of tongue in cheek, but rule 1, although there's a lot of truth to that, right? I mean, divorce leads a lot of folks to miss their financial goals in life. That's a touchy subject. Not everybody is meant to be married forever. And you have to do what you have to do. But I think it's worthwhile investing in your health. If you have a relationship, and mea culpa, my wife and I have her permission to share this on YouTube. Our marriage has not always been smooth and rosy and rainbows and unicorns. But fortunately, both of us are willing to invest in the relationship. And when we've gone through rocky times, we've gone to counseling. And investing that time and investing that money, for us, it worked. It doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody, but I encourage you to at least consider investing the time and investing the money for professional help. So 1 house, in today's day and age, do we really need more than 1 house with Airbnb and all these different ways that we can go to the places we want to vacation? Having a second home can be very expensive. You've got property taxes that are going up. You've got maintenance. You've got the headache with maintenance. You've oftentimes have the homeowners association, the HOA fees that we have to pay. I don't care how much you earn. You have to spend less than you earn. It's not enough to save. You also have to invest. Rule number 1, 1 house, 1 spouse. So that's the second thing, is come up with a reasonable plan. And none of this is financial advice in this video. I don't know your situation, so I can't give you financial advice. But I do think it makes a lot of sense to work with a professional, to come up with a plan, and then importantly, on the investing side, what I'm about to share with you is going to determine 90% of your success on the investing side. And most people don't give a lot of thought to it, but there's multiple studies that show it's 90% of your success in investing. If you ask, there's been surveys, if you ask the general public, they would say 2/3 of your investment success comes from picking the right stocks. That's not the case. It sounds logical, right? That's probably what I would have guessed if I wasn't doing what I do for a living. But you know what determines 90% of your success? And I think it's like 4 or 5%, might be 8%. People attribute 5 to 10% of success in investing to this. It actually accounts for 90%. And that is your asset allocation. What percent of your portfolio is in stocks and what percent's in bonds? And it's super important. And it's hard for us as individuals to do a good job of determining that, just because we're living our one life and we don't know what we don't know. Having been a financial advisor, and I'm not saying to use me, I'm saying having been a financial advisor, I'm fortunate. I've seen hundreds of different lives. I've seen what works and what doesn't work from an investment standpoint, and importantly, the emotional response when the market goes through difficult times. People that say that they're going to stay the course, don't stay the course, because you're talking about your emotions, and it's hard to say how you're going to feel when something like a 30, 40, 50% market crash happens. And if you think I'm being dramatic, as recently as the great financial crisis, the market went top to bottom. The S&P 500 fell 60%. It's hard to know how you're going to react to that until you live through that. Working with somebody that's helped hundreds of families through it, that knows, hey, when you retire, and this is your entire nest egg, how you feel about risk, how you're going to react to a 20 or 30% market drop, which is not uncommon. Boy, it's nice to work with somebody that's seen that play out, has seen that movie multiple times. So working with a professional, asset allocation, and then, just having this sense of urgency. Hopefully this video has helped with this, knowing that our healthy life expectancy here in the United States is only a little over 66 years. And thinking through, is that what you want? Doesn't mean it's going to happen to you. Doesn't mean you're not going to stay healthy till 80. But if it did happen, and look at your family, do a fair assessment of your own health situation and then also of your family's health situation. In my case, unfortunately, I come from a family where the men have had heart issues. My uncle died when he was 56 years old of a heart attack. My father had his first heart attack when he was 56 or 57 and ultimately died of heart disease. So I know that's something I have to keep an eye on. So look at your own situation. And then for all of us, I want all of us to be cognizant of the fact that when we turn 60, most of us have less than 1,000 weeks of healthy, active time in front of us. That's not a lot of time. 1,000 weeks. That's going to pass very quickly. And we want to look back, whether we get 500 healthy, active weeks, whether we get 1,000 or 2,000 healthy, active weeks. We want to look back once our health is gone and say, I was thoughtful and deliberate in how I chose to spend that time. And hopefully this has been helpful for that. And if it has been, I know this video up here will also be helpful. It's 5 reasons to retire as soon as you can. Kind of part 2 to this video. I'll see you in that video. Bye-bye.